Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 14th of January here. Well, what a shock. We came pretty darn close. Low 58.09 and then 0%, 57.94. Yeah, that's exactly what we were looking for with that NBI that was leading. But then you saw, as this took place, we began to dip here now to the below 7.5, which is that turnaround point that we talked about the other day, where orange dips in below that value. We got an improvement from midterm buyers, and of course, because of enough of a reset from short-term buyers, they were able to pop back up. They're still going to be weak overall, simply because it's already accelerated this height. Didn't improve shakeout too much in that sense. So, you're caught with the beginnings of what looked like a turnaround. And if they're able to sustain it, obviously magenta over yellow, that's the strong move, because MBI white has kept low. But see, it's still 9.94, you get over 10. And again, shorts have developed some power within it. And of course, we talked about this, the NASDAQ being a bit stronger overall in general, supporting off that 23%. And that's kind of what we were talking about before, where that would be enough to provide the impetus to push things back up a bit here. Still generally weak, but certainly an improvement, and you don't have quite the negative reading here from the shakeout. It wouldn't take much to get that above the negative 13.5, which will pretty much be right in line with the turnaround improvement, as long as the magenta and that are able to stay within their range. Keeps it all pretty clean. Treasury's not doing a whole lot of anything at this particular stage, but the damage is already done at this particular level, given the fact that you have this increased return based on the fact that the market is anticipating that rates aren't going to be moving anytime soon at this particular stage, at least from a downward side, and that just puts pressure on the market, because you have an alternative for value. But look at that, oil breaking into new highs. We all know what that's going to mean. Higher inflation numbers coming in for the second half of the year, and it's going to be significant. Now, how fast can it be pulled down? Well, as we pointed out, Trump's sort of been hamstrung a little bit. Does he have a workaround? We don't know yet. We'll have to see, but that's going to be pivotal, because this really becomes a problem. And you can see this happening in Europe all throughout, because you're getting all these different contracts that had allowed Russian oil to flow through stopping. You see it, even in Transnistria and some of these other places where they're having these significant blackout issues. And of course, this is Ukraine trying to leverage more support, but to the detriment of the EU. Of course, they're going to buy US LNG, which is a support to America, which also is a further push against the euro. And the fact that it's still holding up quite well, get down to the 1017 range there, but supported back up. Still, it's pie in the sky from a value standpoint, because they're going to be hemorrhaging dollars to buy oil, because they're not going to be getting it from Russia and euros. So at the end of the day, the trajectory for the eurozone is bad and getting worse. Gold feeding back a little bit on this, no particular reason, simply because moving money back into the market for the turnaround, and they just pull it from there. Same thing with the crypto construct, but it has to continue to climb. Given what you're seeing from oil, there is no doubt as to what that's going to lead to, and we can already see the turnaround in crypto from that idea. Even though, again, money pulling out, moving into the market for the turnaround buy setup, not a surprise, but these are the ebb and flows of things, and it's going to continue to be this way. And this is why I was pointing out volatility is likely to rise rather than abate. And given that reality, you have to plan accordingly. And there's still so much uncertainty, and you still have 7 more days left before the transition. And even then, how long is it going to take before things are up and running? You're already seeing delays in cabinet approvals, that kind of thing. And this is where sabotage definitely going to have an impact. So we'll turn to the 50K here, and This is sort of what we were talking about the other day as you end up with this continuation zone of the orange caught between cyan and red. And as I talk about that move below of orange under that 7.5 range, and that corresponded to, well, right here. Was it a turning point? It was the beginning of it. We didn't quite end up with the dip below DOC red here with the orange, so that wasn't quite enough to be the propelling factor. But you ended up with the green crossover, and then clearly when green crossed above cyan, you started to get the difference, and that's when we started to see the change. NBI red continuing to move. Shakeout was improving. You still had very little from a short-term buyer standpoint. So as soon as short-term buyers faded down, that was the beginning of the break off, and that led to the move. It's pretty straightforward, and it becomes a pretty clean one as you start to look for that yellow above magenta here in the shakeout, and you can see it right about here is when it turns into the white category, meaning that you've lost your downturn, and the momentum has shifted because there's a clear rotation back in, and that leads to the overall pump. So all pretty clean, straightforward. When we turn to the intraday look of things, the 5K was fairly erratic early on, but like we saw in the 50K there, once the shift took place towards midday, it was pretty much just a ride up above the 76% the whole way through. We see the continuation of that here in post-market European as it gets towards the end of its session there. Looking fairly good. We're in a bit of a potential pullback towards the 50% at this particular stage, but all in all, this is more of that excellent dynamic that we discussed would be the case of volatility intraday, might be not necessarily producing too dramatic a result from a daily standpoint, but certainly significant movement in order to make quite a few moves. As always, though, anything relevant, I'll put on the Skype chat. Have a good one. Trade well.